Hey there, for this video I've just finished up my lovely little tavern. It's a scratch build made from cardboard, some XPS foam and just bits of craft wood. It really is a very basic build, but it's highly detailed, and on a level of skill I'd give it probably about a 4 or 5. It's just a one step at a time kind of process, no measuring, and everything is just build to fit. So I do hope you get something out of this one, because it's the kind of thing that anyone can tackle, and I do hope you enjoy the video. Before I go doing any detailing, I need to make a base for my diorama. I've just used an old plastic clock. It's just a bit of junk. I thought it'd be perfect size. Bit of XPS foam I cut to fit. I'm going to give that a couple of coats of just this black spray paint, get it nice and glossy. And now just thread some lights through that I've glued into the bottom. Just these cheap little lights, they only cost about $1. Straight through that hole in the clock face, which is fantastic. It's like it was made for dioramas. I'll be using them a lot more often after this. I've got my my base that I've pre-done. I just put some black paint on the foam and then a bit of reptile tank sand, and then the static grass. I just placed it where I knew I would need it. I drew around the tavern, and then I just put the sand down, and then the grass. It was super basic. Thread the lights through the hole that I've made in the middle of the foam. I know where the tavern is sitting, so I knew where to make the hole. And now I can put the tavern down because I know where I'm meant to place it. Crude hole that I cut into the bottom of it so I could just feed the lights up inside. Nobody will ever see how roughly that was done. I'll be gluing it down. It'll be there forever. Then I just neatly put it in place. And it's ready to play with. You can see just there, it's on its guideline. Already. Okay, the first thing I'm putting down is this clump foliage on a bit of XPS foam, just for some little bushes on top of this window here. Bit of wood glue. Always use wood glue with XPS foam. I'll probably say that about 30 times during this video. It's very important. Just crudely glue it down. And then just some yellow and white paint on the end of a toothpick just to drop some flowers down unevenly. Always unevenly. You don't want them all exactly the same. Yellow and white are always a good choice. It's bright and cheery, but a little subdued with the colour. And it's also quite natural. For the chimney I'm using more XPS foam. I've just cut the shape and height that I wanted. I've carved the top out to make it look like it's an actual chimney, and I drew in a stone pattern. I use a really nice sharp pencil, and to do my pattern I just randomly place different shapes and sizes of stones: vertical, horizontal, round, square, some smaller but mostly larger ones. And it's kind of like playing this connect the dots, fill in the gaps kind of thing that I do. It stops me having to sit there staring at a reference, and it stops me from accidentally forming patterns that look unnatural. So I just place them around randomly like this, and then once they start to get a little bit closer together, I can just naturally fill them in, and it gives that more natural look. I just find that I'm the sort of person that I accidentally form patterns, so this works for me. Really nice sharp pencil for carving. Once you've done this and drawn it in, you can go over the entire thing again and just really carve it nice and deep. It'll really help the effect later on, because you're going to fill all those gaps in, so it'll add to the look of it. And now just to roughen up the surface with some foil, just to give it that extra stone look. XPS foam tends to be quite flat and shiny, so it's good to knock the surface into it and give it that textured look. I shoved a skewer down the neck of my chimney as well, just because of the height of it, and it goes above the roof, and I was a little bit concerned that if it was ever bumped, like hard bumped during moving or something, it could snap. So I have secured it, made it really strong by driving this down inside. I like my builds to be really, really strong. Now it's time for a good coat of black acrylic paint. Just work it right into the grooves and cover the entire thing. And when it's thoroughly dry, a nice coat of just some grey flat acrylic paint, just to brush across and give it that stone colour. And when that's dry again, just some different colours to randomly put around so it looks like different types of stones in the chimney, or the chimney is made of different types of stone. I just used yellow ochre, probably a burnt sienna or something like that. It's a dark brown. And then I used a light grey. This is not white. I would avoid white. But it looks white under the camera. All the colours look a little bit different under the camera light. And now it's time for my lightweight polyfiller. I love this stuff. I just grab a small handful and then I just start smearing it across and pushing it into all the little cracks. I do this very, very quickly. It dries really, really fast as well, so that's why I work so quickly. But I just push it on and push it in and just rub my hand, and it forms almost like little balls, and they just sort of drop off, and it's just worked in. It leaves almost like a powdery looking finish. It's wonderful stuff. It's the easiest way to make brick walls and stone, and yeah, it's fantastic. Look at that. Very easy. Once that is really thoroughly dry, I'm going to put a very light wash on top of it, but do make sure it's dry. If you don't make sure it's dry, it's going to turn to like a milky wash and you're going to have to redo your filler. It's just yellow ochre and water, and now a little bit of green paint on the bottom, or you could put a little bit of brown stain on the bottom, or none on the bottom at all. You can do whatever you like. Now I'm going to put the chimney in, but you can see the hole is too big that I made because I had an original chimney that was it was too short and wide, so I made a new one. But I had to plug the roof back up, seeing as I had cut a huge hole out of it. So I just made a little bit of shingles and then roughly glued it in, a bit of a Frankenstein's monster fix. But it fits now, and I'm going to cover that up. But as you can see, I have popped it in the back. I'll put some plants over it, but always hide your mistakes in the back if you can, and if you can't, cover them. I'm going to put some lovely details on now, just some really dried out sticks that I had hanging around, and I just used some secateurs and cut them into nice lengths. They seem like the right size for logs, so yeah, I'm going to just put them down with some wood glue because they'll be coming in contact with the foam of the chimney there. Just made it quite a nice stack of these. I love the detail on them. They really look like tiny little logs. But I did make sure that the wood was very, very dry. I'd had it sitting around for about 2 years, so I know it was dry. One on the side there, just like it's rolled off and it's sitting on the grass on its own for added detail. That looks nice. Really basic, free detailing. I'm going to make some furniture now. I'm just going to make a little long wooden bench seat, like a medieval style one. I've chosen this because it's not just with the theme, but it's really, really basic. But it looks kind of detailed and it's nice. Just cut like a little A-shaped piece out of a popsicle stick, a paddle pop stick. I'll make 2 of these. And that's my little feet. And then just the rest of a paddle pop stick or a popsicle stick. I just rounded the corners off it and that's it. Glue them on each end and I've got myself a bench seat. I made a little tiny table from matchsticks and coffee stirrers. Super basic. Plonk all the furniture into a dirty watered down acrylic wash. Just to stain it. I want to hang on to that look of wood. I don't want to cover it up with paint. And take it out to dry. And once they're all dry, I can give them a dry brush. They look nice. This little wooden round thing, I thought it looked like a bit of a wagon wheel, but there's no hole in it, so I thought I would attach a wooden bead to it so it actually looks like it's got a hole running through it. The attachment for the wagon. There you go, now it's a wagon wheel, kind of. More detailing, that's no work at all. Now the dry brush, it just really helps to sort of age it and brings out some of the detail, but it stops everything looking flat and one tone, which is really, really helpful for miniature furniture. You don't want everything to look exactly the same, sort of cookie cutter pieces. You can see the difference there. The one on the left has been dry brushed. It looks older. It looks more like a piece of furniture than a popsicle stick. I made these itty bitty plates out of polymer clay, and then I just gave them a little bit of this, that's like a gunmetal kind of colour. I'm avoiding using anything that is too shiny because things will stick out, and like these cups, they're just beads. You see how silver that is? The other one was really silver as well. I just put that gunmetal colour on them so they don't stand out too much, because when they stand out, that's all people are going to see. Some itty bitty bits of polymer clay fruit that I made, and I'll plonk them on the plate. I was going to use the silica gel little beads, but I couldn't find them. All this time waiting to use them, and I have no idea where they went. So polymer clay it was, the painstaking work of polymer. But they look lovely. A bit of Pac-Man cheese there from polymer clay, and I'm going to glue them down to my table. Way too much glue as always. And you can see this mug is way too big. This is where you've got to be careful with scale. It can fit other places of the diorama, but not on this table because it dwarfs the plates, and they're meant to be platters, so it'll be the size of a bucket next to them. So one of the little ones can go on the table instead. Much better. I'll stick another one of those on as well. And this little tiny loaf of bread that I made, it's like the size of a rat pellet or a mouse pellet. I'm lucky I didn't lose it when I was painting it. Put on another one of these little bitty beads. That looks nice. This tiny bead too, it was silver. I put a little bit of green paint onto it to knock that silver out. I thought it was going to be like a flask, but it looked more like a pillow when I sat it on this bench seat, so a pillow it is. The detail's fantastic too. Once again, no work, and it looks wonderful. Another little side table with one of the bigger mugs, which works when it's separated from the table, or the big table. The little bench seats are ready to go. This little lantern I made in my last video short. I'm going to create a playlist of all the little things that I couldn't show you in this, things from previous videos, and you can check them out if you would like to. This little seat I'm popping under the windows. I'm just gluing it up against the actual wall and not the foam, so I can use super glue that way. Makes things a lot faster. Looks nice. The itty bitty side table with the large mug that works in perspective when put in the right place. And another small table with two different sized mugs. I'm just going to glue them down. I did put a toothpick so I could push it down because the grass is sticking up. It's making it hard to glue things down. So I shoved it into the foam itself. And the table, I stuck a little candle on there as well. That's off another one of my videos. It felt like something was missing, so I stuck a candle down on there. Little seats. You can really see that dry brush now. It's really standing out. It looks great. Really does make them look so aged. I like that weathered look. A little lantern that I had dangling on a different diorama, so I snatched it off and I thought I'd put it on this one. little bead that I thought just looked like an urn of some sort of vessel, and I stuck a pin into the foam so I can just slide it straight down. Don't have to worry about trying to balance it as it glues that way. And now I can just get some super glue and place it in the back so it'll adhere to the wall of the building, and then it sits. Easy. I'm going to place down my wagon wheel. Some barrels and crates that I've made from foam previously. I will definitely leave the playlist of all these. And just start placing them around. When it comes to placing these kinds of things, always put the worst ones that you've made kind of out of sight a little more. You know, you can put things in front of them and use them as filler. And then the best ones, you just leave them right out to where everyone can see them. Like this one's a bit better, so I'll put it out where it can be seen easier. The one I first put in was not quite so good. This is one of the better ones, so I will place it out on display as well. Looks good. Put one of those mugs down on it. And it's a wooden block that I dropped into some brown wash, and a weird little barrel, all hidden and tucked away in the back there. Just a bit of an old foam crate. And these haven't been beautifully detailed. They've been pretty roughly made, but it doesn't matter. They work for this. 2 beads glued on top of each other with a toothpick down the middle. Another one that looks just like an odd vessel. It kind of reminds me of objects on Elder Scrolls Online, which I absolutely love. A little plastic bit of a bush. Just some filler. Looks like an elephant's been sitting on this spot on the grass. It's all flat there. I poked a hole here because I'm going to feed in some green plants. It's just some great big green thing that I bought, and I just break it into little pieces to use it. Because the foliage is just right. The leaves are tiny, so it works. I'm just going to glue this one piece in with some wood glue down inside the foam, so it actually looks like it's growing out of the ground. And then I'm going to start gluing it to the actual walls and roof, so I can use super glue. This is actually very resistant to the glue. It did not want to glue down. It was a difficult job to get it working. Even with a bit of baking soda, it didn't want to stick. But I got there. Bit by bit, I just sort of creeped it up to the roof, and then I would connect the bottom to the actual piece that was below it, so it looked like it was the one stem coming up. I don't usually use artificial plants, but I didn't want to use vines this time. Vines, over time, they don't hold their beautiful colour, and I don't know. Plus, I really, really wanted to hide that roof that I had jammed that piece back in. And this looks nice. It's a quick fix for a really lovely, lush green foliage on a build. It's really, really nice. I made a little pop of green sort of peekaboo over the top of the roof as well, which is just nice. A bit of twine that I soaked in more brown wash, like everything else, and then just a bit of this sort of yellowy mocha coloured paint, just to dry brush over it and pop out the detail in it, so it looks more like an actual rope. Super glue it to the wall, and that's the last of the details. It came out really lovely. I really do like this. I love the wagon wheel. I was excited when I realised what I'd done. I've been trying to figure out wagon wheels for a long time, so I think I may have solved the problem. But this one, it just came out really lovely. It was very basic, as you can see by all the things I put down. They were very no fuss, no frills kind of objects. But as one piece, it really, really works. Well, I will leave you to watch the rest of this. There's a nice bit of footage so you can enjoy the view of the lettuce in. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I do hope to see you next time.